Hello and welcome to Roll for Topic. This is normally a roundtable discussion about topics related to running role-playing games, but this week we are designing a dungeon live on air. I'm Chris Salzman.
I'm Andy Rao.
And we are joined by our, let's just call them, I'm going to call them fan favorites, but these also might be the two people most likely to take over the podcast when Andy and I die eventually. So we have with us today, we have John Corey.
Hello.
And we have Kyle Latino.
This is the sound of my voice.
Hi, Kyle. Okay. Hi, John. Yes. So if you've listened to Roll for Topic in the past, you will know that we try to do these special episodes once a year around the holidays where we design a dungeon and then actually play it on air. And we try to do this as both a fun sort of thing to do at the end of the year, but also to stretch our creative muscles. I think if we were like really good, we would go back through the episodes and like try to draw on specific examples from each of them for this dungeon. But that's maybe too much. So we have all been chatting a little bit this week. I promise we haven't been brainstorming too much, but we've been chatting about like our general setup for this. So we'll talk about that in just a second. This episode, we're going to try to aim for an hour and a half, 2 hours or so. And we're putting it all on the table a little bit here, right? So you're going to hear probably some bad ideas at the start and then some better ideas later on, hopefully, and then probably some bad ideas again towards the end, but it'll all come together and it's going to be amazing and magical. So please stick with us. Okay, so beforehand, I'm just going to go into this. We decided that we wanted to have this dungeon set in space. Is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
It's specifically the idea of sort of like a derelict space station somewhere. Does that also jive with what we've been talking about?
Yes. So we didn't say a space station.
Okay. All right. We have the first point of contention. Okay. So let's dive into that. Okay. Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, forget it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start there. So if we want to set this thing in space, and I think we're all interested in that, probably because like eating ourselves off this earth sounds really great right now. But like what is interesting about space? Let's start there.
So I was thinking sort of the angle is there's a lot of different angles to space adventure, right? There's Star Trek. There's Star Trek: The Next Generation. There's Aliens. There's Buck Rogers.
We got both kinds of music, country and western.
Yeah, right.
There's Deep Space Nine. There's Voyager.
Yeah,
all those great options. But they're very different. So like a Voyager episode is not very similar to an Aliens movie. And so do we want a little more fun, or are we actually going for horror? When you say derelict spacecraft, it made me think of Aliens, but there are derelict spacecrafts in Star Trek too. It's just they tend to be filled with silly, furry creatures rather than.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe establishing the tone somewhat. So I guess like I'm going to be thinking about, because I'm probably going to be the one running this thing on air, so I'll be thinking about like the game ability of it. So like horror is a nice, easy thing to run as a one shot, I would say. If this is a vibrant space station full of a cast of 100 NPCs, then that's going to make me a little bit scared to run it. But yeah, like I guess I'm also not opposed to like a more happier tone than cosmic horror. Yeah, I guess what do you? I'm going to start calling on people pretty soon. Kyle, what do you think? What are you thinking for tone?
I think horror lends itself to adventure really nicely.
Okay.
And I've ever since John ran Sailors Under the Starless Skies, or whatever it's called for the DCC module.
Starless Sea, I think. Yeah.
Sailors of the Starless Sea. It was a funnel, and we played it at Roll for Topic Con, and it was so much fun. And that has me really thinking about like maybe even like a funnel, or at least this kind of like horrible thing where people are expected to die like grisly deaths and not have like this amazing magical item that will keep the game from being interesting.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody's got a red shirt right out of the gate, and it's just the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds fun too. So are we thinking, what type of sci-fi is this? If it's out in space, it's probably sci-fi. So it's like, to throw out some options, we have like kind of the alien style hard sci-fi, lots of, realistic looking machines, that sort of thing. Then there's like the D&D in space style, like that you can see in Starfinder or maybe like a Final Fantasy type game. And then there's, like wacky zany stuff that you might get from like a DCC module. Like, do you guys have a sense of what kind of space location we're dealing with?
I mean, it sounds like you're asking, is there magic or not? Is that's sort of the crux of the question?
Yeah, I mean,
also,
what's the tone? Is it cold and industrial? Is it a setting where, technology and magic exist side by side and aren't that distinguishable from each other? What's the feel we want to go for here?
Well, and I'll add another vector to that, which is one of the things that makes the DCC funnel fun, and I'm not saying we have to do it just like that, is these are not heroes or adventurers, right? They're farmers and plowmen and, candle makers. So are these regular people thrown into this horrific situation, or are these space marines who are seeking it out? And those are both great, and they can both be a good adventure, but they're slightly different in terms of expectations of how the game will go.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning away from like Space Marine. I'm leaning away from like professionals. I think like that's not. Yeah, I don't think that's not what I'm interested in right now. So not professionals. Maybe not necessarily like fish out of water farmers either. But yeah, like something closer to that end of the level 1, level 0 sorts of people. I
think one of the best you start at the dungeon openings to a movie is in the original Alien movie. And they're contractually obligated to go investigate this thing because the AI that's running the ship while everybody's sleeping has detected something. And it's like, if like the beefiest weapon like that any of the player characters have is like a hot rivet gun or something like that kind of, then you're really kind of thinking through your options in a different way. I think that kind of versus this unknowable cosmic horror, insane androids kind of thing is a really interesting tone. But it's also like, it's perilous enough to not be too dry.
Yeah.
Right. But those characters are still competent, right? It's not as if they're complete buffoons like the characters in Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Yeah, it's not like they could get killed by a door or something.
Not that they get killed by making a pun. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm kind of interested in a space setting where I feel free to disagree with this. I kind of like the idea of exploring like an unknown locale. How to articulate this? Rather than being in like a haunted house where there's one monster haunting you around, I am interested in a setting where there could be kind of a variety of different encounter types. So it's not just like one type of alien or whatever has taken everything over, or the mad androids have just taken over the ship. Like, so is there a way we could have a setting that would feel reasonable, that there's like kind of a variety of different things going on?
Yeah.
No, I like that too. Yeah, because I think otherwise then it just turns into a hunt the monster or be hunted setup, which is fun. But like the thing that just came to mind was something in space, but just off of Earth, like maybe in between the moon and Earth, something like that. And maybe something like a hotel, like a space hotel. Like that. And then like maybe the characters are like the janitorial staff, something like that. Like they have a good reason to be there, and like something has gone wrong. Right. Like, so it's less like, oh, they're stumbling on this thing, and it's more like, oh, we're going to work, like we're clocking in, and
that's
this is not right.
Kind of like the Shining in space. It's like they have to go take care of this space hotel in the off season.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like get it cleaned up and the locks.
Yeah, because like Mars, like all the planets kind of get further away from each other. So like it's only when they're closest during the alignments that there's a lot of like commerce and people would actually need the space hotel. So in the off seasons, you have to go in there and kind of like clean up after the last group of corpos came in there and wrecked the place.
Yeah,
I am down with the last group of
tech bros.
Ooh, we could even have like some weirdo who's been like, he was like gonna get put away for embezzlement, so he just like stayed in the hotel this whole time and nobody knows he's been there.
It's like international waters or something, like maybe everybody kind of assumes he's out there, but until he touches back down on Earth. You can't touch him.
Well, there's a great opportunity there for sort of a double for sort of double tension, right? Like, so if it's some guy, like Kyle's idea of some guy who's a stowaway basically, and weird things happen, and you realize it's stowaway, but once you find him, then other weird things start happening, right? So you think you've solved it, but no, there's really something even weirder going on, and that solves the aliens problem, which is there's not a ton of NPC interactions in the film Aliens, you know what I mean? Yeah. so you have regular people they run into, but that's not all there is to it. So you sort of get two levels there.
What would we think about tweaking the hotel setting towards something where we would have a little bit more freedom to make it weird? I like this idea, but I'm wondering, like, what if it was like a rich person, a galaxy mega millionaire's, private luxury base or something like that. I mean, that maybe not that, but
it's like
something
Jeff
where
Bezos's
we'd have a
home.
reason to put in like something odd that no sane, hotel would have on its property. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, so some sort of I do like that like a super mega rich vacation home out in the middle of space somewhere.
Yeah.
Because that's also something that you would have, like, kind of regular schlubs go through and clean up. But then you just check their pockets for silver when they left.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
I like that a lot. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so what if, so here's a question about kind of framing. So this is intended to be run as a one shot. Is there a way we could put some boundaries around it, like a ticking clock or something like that mostly kind of to help to run it as a one shot, where you could have some milestones that are gonna happen, way to drive the PCs to keep moving. Is there anything that we can do? I mean, there's some obvious ones, like the reactor is going to blow up in 2 hours, but I'm wondering if we could do something more interesting.
Maybe there's like a solar flare that's on its way or something like that. There's like a solar storm and the shutters aren't closing that would normally protect this thing. So like, because that guy's been monkeying around with all the stuff to get like, to filter coolant into drinking water and stuff like that. He's kind of screwed up the automated systems, and that's what you're sent there to kind of repair and then clean up the place after the shutters are there. So there is this ticking clock of like, no matter what happens, if we don't fix these shutters, we're all going to be fried alive in this giant easy bake oven.
Right.
It's like, we had a party there last year, and there's a solar flare coming, and I think I forgot to like shut the blinds. You lot go in that spaceship, go shut the blinds.
Well,
like, sir, I won't get to see my child take his first steps. I don't care.
Yeah. It could also be, I mean, in seriousness, it could be like we're remotely monitoring the station. There's a solar flare coming in. We've realized there's some repairs that need to be made. Yeah. And that's why we're here.
Is that too technical?
I don't know. Yeah. Then you got your hot rivet gun.
That's true. Yeah, you got a reason.
Yeah. Another thought I had in terms of framing Andy was, I'm not trying to frame Andy. In terms of framing, Andy. No? That's still framing it. Never mind.
Yeah, that's still sounds worse the more that you keep explaining it. So
is that I've been reading this adventure for this game Vaesen, which we've talked about on previous podcasts, and one thing they do is like, if things aren't happening, here's 3 things that could happen, right? So here's a list of 3, rather than have it be sort of a room to room dungeon, it's they uncover the stowaway. That's thing 1. Thing 2 is they hear a weird mechanical, like, I don't know what all the things are, but the framing could be what are events that could happen, and we could combine that with a clock style from Chris's favorite game, Band of Blades, and those 2 things could be interlocked, right? So when they find the stowaway, you tick the clock, right? When they for the first tremor from the solar flare, you tick the second box. Does that make any sense? Am I babbling?
Yeah, so
it does. Yeah,
you would only ever do like 10 things in there before the clock is filled.
I mean, it's a one shot. I'm a big fan of 6. If you're
Yeah.
feeling ungenerous, 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
like the idea of like events that are planned out to happen like after, and every 10 minutes the GM fills in one of the pies on the clock or whatever, and then
Yeah.
sees if an event is listed as happening at that point.
Yeah, the Curse of Strahd game that I've been but still halfway through at the time of this recording. There's a real world clock that's running. So you hit start on a timer, and no matter what's happening at 1 hour, Strahd gives a little speech, does a little thing, disappears. Right. So like, and that's been pretty effective because like it doesn't necessarily impede what the players are doing, but it does create fun emergent gameplay. Because if Strahd shows up in the middle of a fight, right, or like in this derelict space vacation home, yeah, like if they're trying to if they're like finding the stowaway, and then minute 15 ticks and a solar flare like shoots out, like yeah, lots of interesting things could happen.
Plus, you've got the time built in with the solar flare, right? So
Yeah.
you could have it. It seems to come sooner than expected. No, it's just a minor precursor. Like you could play with that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You know, have their ship blow up or have their ship be damaged. We could make a whole list of things that could happen as they proceed through the station as timer things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
let's nail down. So let's try if we can quickly nail down. So why are the PCs here? What happened here? And what's the general timeline that they're on? I guess, and we can do that in whatever order. But so what happened here that prompted the PCs to get sent here or to stumble across it? And we're thinking they're kind of whatever, they're maintenance type people that are being sent here by their bosses or something like that to check this out. Is that what we're thinking? All right. So
yeah.
What alert went off on some corporate screen that they're like, oh, we got to send a crew of cleaners up to this place?
That the automated protection system for the solar flare failed to initiate. So we've got to get in there and activate it before the solar flare comes. So the goal is to make the station safe from the solar flare.
I think, can we make it like that be a secondary problem that's like immediately obvious once they get there? Okay. I think I like the idea of doing the setup such that like you hate the guy that owns this place. Like your crew is just like, we have to go back there for this. Like, so something that's pretty low stakes, and then you get there and they realize, like, oh, if we don't do, X, Y, Z, then this whole place is going to blow. And then we're out of job, or we let it happen and it's great and we screwed this guy over, right? Like they can make that decision then.
Sure. So could it be something like retrieve this thing I just left last time I was on the station?
Well, you wouldn't need a whole crew for that. You would need a maintenance crew to solve some kind of failure or something like that. Maybe it's like, update the firmware on the AI.
What if it's update the living room decor? Like even taking a step back from there. So then your characters, you could have like an interior designer. You could have like a editorial staff.
Really good.
Yeah, they're getting ready for a party, right?
Yeah.
And you've got to go there. It's right before the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a New Year's party, but you've got to go on Christmas to get it all set up. And you really hate
love that.
That is a good one, yes. Okay. So they're being sent in to redecorate or to prep the station for a party or a big shindig that's coming up soon, right?
Yeah.
And that can be part of the time pressure. Might just be like, if this isn't ready at midnight, you're all getting fired or killed or something like that.
And we've thrown out some.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, we've thrown out some good ideas about why everybody hates him, but maybe that's a question you ask at the beginning, maybe you ask as a way to create bonds with the characters. What are you missing to do this? Son's birthday, wedding anniversary, whatever it is, and then that can become a way to build cohesion and depth with the team.
Oh yeah,
I like that. And that could just come pre-populated on the character sheets as well. But I like the idea of asking players as well. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, that's
So
good. I
when they
think
get there,
Andy, just real quick on
yeah,
that note. So like Andy, you and I had talked like a bit about doing some pre-gens for this. Yeah, I think that's like just what Kyle was saying. That's an excellent way of doing it. It's like
yeah.
you have like your role, and then just here's the thing you're missing. Here's the
Hmm.
thing you're missing. I think that gives you a lot of information about a character with minimal minimal lines.
Yeah, I mean, I like to. That's the way I like to do a lot of pre-gens in at conventions and stuff. Is give them all the stats, right? But they get to name them, say what they're wearing, and say what they're missing. For this, and then you've built a character, and without having to do the math.
Yeah.
I like that too. So I'm eager to get on and start describing this place. But
Yeah.
But there's one more question. So what generally are the PCs going to find when they get there? Because obviously, if they get there and there's nothing wacky that has happened, it's going to be a short, boring adventure. So when they get there to decorate the place or whatever, what has gone wrong since in the time since someone else has been on the station?
Okay.
Well, all the cleaning robots are broken down.
Yeah.
So like they immediately realize they have a ton more work to do than they thought.
Nice.
But it's also adds like this creepy, like, wait, why are all the robots dead?
Yeah.
Let's go around. Let's each do one idea. Maybe we'll do a second round. Okay. So Kyle's idea was cleaning robots on the fritz. John, what do you got?
Where they walk into a kitchen or an eating area and they see a meal set to be eaten, could even still be warm, and there's nobody around. So somebody's broken into the food stores. Maybe they left the fridge open and ruined food, but somebody was just about to eat, and it could be our stowaway, or it could be something else. We can figure that out. But that's what I think.
Andy, what do you got?
Kind of similar to John's. I was thinking maybe a crew of pirates or something like that has just landed on what they think is a empty and vulnerable station, and are on site,
so
like
good.
looking for good.
That's
Coen Brothers stuff right there. It's just like have a completely different movie crash into your movie.
Yes.
This also creates an interesting tone because pirates can be scary, and they're certainly maybe meaner than our crew. And then that leads into anyway. We'll keep going.
Yeah.
What do you got, Chris?
Yeah.
And Chris.
The thought I had was you arrive and there's a second vacation home docked next to the first one, and it's like whoever owns the one that you're going to, it's like his rival has shown up for some sort of like rival party. But that idea I think is fine, but I like the idea of pirates being there.
I'm always up for pirates.
Yeah. So that definitely pushes it in a direction I would say that's a little bit more combat focused. Although doesn't necessarily have to be. But I think we need to decide that probably pretty soon whether this is going to be something that can solve with combat more, or it's going to be more of like a puzzle vacation home.
What I think is there's a potential for combat, pirates versus friends, but then they realize there's another menace. I'm still stuck on this. There's an actual alien menace thing, which we may or may not want to go with, but I feel like that's the next level. Yeah,
I like the idea that I don't think it sounds very fun to me that the PCs just get in a big firefight with a gang of pirates, but more that the pirates are a tool the GM can use to throw into encounters just to complicate them. Because maybe the pirates have split up. Maybe there's as many pirates as there are PCs, and the pirates have split up just going through, searching around for something, and the GM can throw one into an encounter if it seems like it would make it more interesting.
Like going back to the concept of the list of things that happen.
What if they're crypto pirates? They haven't come for like statues and stuff. They've come for Bitcoin, so they have like a bunch of thumb drives.
Nice.
Yeah, they've come for something that does not impact the party at all. Like both the party that's going to get thrown and then the party party of characters. Yeah, so it's like, do you just let them do it, or what? Like, and they can get in the way for sure, but like maybe they're looking for
it's a social encounter. It's like how do you deal with this? Do we sneak around with this? Do we think we can get like a bonus if we turn these guys in?
So don't make them immediately hostile and sword wielding, right? but
Yeah.
they can look like tough guys, but they're not like pirates, right? They're thieves, but they're
I think
not
it might be fun to have just different personality types in the pirate crew.
Yeah.
Fitting those different descriptions.
Yeah.
Kind of like the crew from Die Hard. You got like the nerdy one, you have like the stoic one, you have like the hothead, and that'll really like you depending on which one you run into in which situation. It'd be really handy to have a map to keep track of where everybody is and all the different pirate personalities.
Sure would.
That's a great idea. I wish we knew somebody.
I'm just thinking, I want to just play Alan Rickman as a space pirate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I should say, by pirates could be a lot of things in this kind of context. It could be a gang of schlubs hired by a rival, to go in there and just mess the place up or plant some bugs in the system so that the party will go off badly or so it don't have to be like our pirates with their pirate ship. Although that's certainly fun too. So
they also narratively provide two things, right? Like going back to the concept of the countdown, like the first countdown step is there's another ship docked at the house. That's one, right? Two is like maybe the first pirate you run into is dead, right? Or maybe the first pirate you run into is screaming, running through a door, and there's something chasing him. Like there's that creates opportunities for basically having red shirts for our red shirts, so that they can narratively figure out what's going on without having to all die.
Yeah. Oh, that's super smart.
Yeah, I'm reminded of video games that like when you go into a room and there's like a trap, you'll go in just as one of the enemy goons is like cut apart by the laser trap, and then you're like, okay, now I know where the lasers are.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, let's keep the pirates kind of in the back of our mind as we map this place out, and just if you see a good opportunity to entangle the pirates in whatever we're talking about, just speak up, I guess. Otherwise, they can always just sit as like kind of a resource for the GM to haul in on the fly as needed.
Shall we start?
Kyle, go ahead.
One more time?
Yeah.
I was going to say, because like, we've gotten some pretty good, solid, like obvious ideas, but we haven't gotten to that weird stuff yet. We haven't gotten to that, like, the like space adventure stuff. So I think maybe we have just some really quick bad ideas.
Yes. Yeah. Go for it.
I'll go.
Get them all out.
I'm loaded with.
Okay. I'm going to keep you to one.
Okay. I think there's some kind of test signal to actually like commandeer people's brains that this guy has been working on. To like rob his own employees of free will, and that's like that can create like this psychopath killer kind of in slasher movie in space situation.
Nice.
Wait, are the characters infected with this? Too?
I mean, I think maybe the pirates go in looking for whatever they can steal, like industrial espionage style, and one of them accidentally flips on some like snow crash screen and goes nuts.
Okay. All right. John.
So there are live plants on this station, and in one room, or in all the rooms, your choice, the plants have grown like crazy. They've like unexpectedly like infested the entire area, and it's like a jungle in this room for no immediately apparent reason. And I don't know what it is. Alien parasite. There you go.
Yeah. Andy, what do you got?
So
cultivating plants from Mars, like an old genome found in some Mars mud. Bingo, bango. Move on.
Oh, nice. Done.
This might be a little tricky to pull off if it's in like Earth orbit, but what if there's something like an environmental challenge that comes and goes? So like whatever, every 30 minutes the gravity reverses, or
nice.
Yes. But if there's either due to something is broken in like the environmental controls at the station, or if they're out in like deep space, like there's some sort of whatever. Every 30 minutes, it circles around and faces the sun, and the temperature goes up by 75 degrees. I don't know.
Yeah.
When the GM rolls a D6 every time a tick goes, and on a 6, whatever, the environmental problem is triggered.
Yeah.
Nice.
The bad idea I had was there's like a door in this place that when you open it, it actually is just like a door opens on Earth, right? Like, so there's like a easy way to go back and forth between the two, but like you're not allowed to use it. You have to take the spaceship up and down. But like the guy that owns it has a door that he can go through.
Nice.
Yeah. I just really hate this guy. I don't even know who he is, but he's on my bad side.
Should the adventure open with the PCs, getting off of their ship and in the station? One thing I was wondering if there is a way to present a choice right at the beginning to like let the PCs maybe pick. I don't know. Do you go in? Do you dock on the main obvious docking port, or do you go around and dock at like the maintenance port at the back? And like, I don't know. Is there a way to introduce like a choice that the PCs could make, or do we want to just start it off with a bang? They're in the ship.
If we were to do that, which I don't think is a bad idea, it could be there's the main dock there. There's a ship already docked, which you're not expecting. You could also dock there, or there's a maintenance dock that you could use, and that would be the choice. So that they start with something tense that impacts their decision. So it sort of accomplishes both of those things.
Yeah, whatever we choose, I would want it to be something the PCs decide really quickly at the beginning. You don't want it to be a really drawn-out role-playing encounter, like where they're scanning and making all kinds of rolls. Just like decide how are you going to go approach.
Maybe the shuttle that they're on is automated, so they can reroute to a different docking bay, but they can't. They have a choice of docking bay, but they can't go home. And the solar storm is already bad enough; they can't call home either. So they have two choices, and that's it.
Yeah, actually, that's great.
That.
So, what are their two choices, and how will the two choices like kind of meaningfully affect the experience they're going to have?
Yeah, I don't know if we know that quite yet.
Okay.
But I mean, I think what John was saying is interesting, right? So like maybe the pirates are at the maintenance dock or something like that. So if they you're approaching the main dock and like the first decision is, do you want to dock here, or there's a maintenance dock on the other side?
Okay.
And you choose one or the other, and you can't go back. Like you can't go back to the main dock if you choose the maintenance dock.
I kind of like that, because if they choose the dock at the main one, that suggests they're going to have like kind of a lot of social encounters up front. But if they choose the back way, they might get to explore around a little bit before they blunder into whoever the pirates are.
Or maybe
you could always have, maybe
earlier.
Yeah. And then, maybe somebody could roll like to see if they recognize the markings on the ship and realize like, oh, this is filed off its like VIN number or something like that. So it's like it's clearly pirates, but it's like that I think would, that moment, that decision where they have to, it's the trolley problem. It's like you can only switch to one of the two tracks. One track has monsters and one track has pirates.
I like that. Yes. And we should establish up front, I mean, they're just on like a shuttle. It's not like a ship with guns and stuff like that, I'm assuming, right?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Because we don't want them like going way off script here right at the beginning.
Yeah,
it's an automated show.
We're assuming a level of technology that like this ship can fly itself, right? Like so this ship can take us from Earth to this back. It's an autonomous.
I think like they have some like gardening equipment for the plants. So maybe somebody has like one of those like topiary like mini chainsaw clippers or something like that. And that's like the most hardcore thing. It's like this battery powered like thing.
That's really fun. I'm trying to think like the interior decorator, like maybe there's some sort of like future tape measure that like actually shoots out like a laser beam that can blind someone. Right, like I think we'll want to have some clever options for items and materials and stuff that they can use, right? Because so if they're redecorating, I guess I'm thinking that ship is going to have them in it in an uncomfortable position, and then some sort of trailer in the back full of like sofas and other stuff,
right?
Like that. So they will, they're gonna have to unload it, right? Like they're going to be part of what they have to do is unload this thing, or then that can also be where anything useful for the rest of the adventure. It just happens to be.
And
then
they might
they
have been set
find
up
on the pirate ship too.
Yeah.
What was that?
And this place will have a version of like a storage shed. They might have been set up like, use the lawnmower is already up there. When you get there, go to the storage shed, and that's where you'll find your hedge trimmer and your crowbar.
What if this horrible person is like, he's one of those like white dudes that dresses in kimonos all the time, and he has like a set of swords up on his mantelpiece.
Yes.
But they're all really cheap, and you don't know that to the
Yeah. They're stored upside down, right? He's got the blade side down.
That would be great.
Okay, so let's start talking about this, and if I can encourage us to let's remember to keep tweaking it in the direction of interesting. We want this to be an interesting map to explore, right? So let's tweak our ideas in that direction of like slightly offbeat or interesting, and we'll justify it because it's a crazy mega bazillionaire crypto bro who just built whatever he wanted and no one said no to him. So
can we crypto bro for sure, like
Crypto
that's the angle, okay. I like that a lot. So Kyle, I actually have a question for you. So you're sort of you're the mapping expert here. Is it better to come up with a collection of ideas and then put them together later, or to come up with rooms as we're moving through this thing?
It absolutely is a good idea just to make a list of rooms. Like if I was going to run this as a one shot, probably what I would do, I would actually just put something together like on like a Google Slides or something, just with a bunch of boxes and hallways and paths through it. This is something that I learned from the blogger, The Alexandrian. He has this really wonderful technique for coming up with great ideas, and he calls it Goblin Ampersand. Okay. And it's like you never run into just goblins. You run into goblins that worship carrion crawlers, or you run into goblins that that all have parasitic deer antlers or something like that. It's just like it's always like you start with the familiar thing and then you add something to it. So it's just like this. The living room isn't just a living room; it is a living room and robot aquarium. It's like that automatically. It's like, oh, now we're in an eccentric millionaire house in space. Yeah. It's got an android aquarium down there, like android mermaids. Okay. Let's do it.
But I agree. We should make a list of rooms and a list of potential encounters first, and then see how they naturally fit together. And in fact, as the Zero Prep Jam, I'd stop after I made the list, and then
why don't we go around and just like we did with the ideas, and let's each get a chance to throw out like a room that we would expect to find in this setting, and then we can take the ones we like and flesh them out, and we can just pretend that we never said the bad ones.
Oh yeah, that's good.
We are recording.
Right, so, yes. Kyle, do you want to throw out an encounter or a location?
Well, I mean, the living room with the android mermaid aquarium was my idea, but
that's fine. Okay, Chris, I see Chris writing this down, so that can be your idea.
Wow. Andy is like showing his hand. He does not like the living room with the
No, that is not. I am attempting to avoid putting Kyle on the spot to come up with a second crazy idea in a row, because that's
fine.
I think we'll do another lap, right?
Like, that's fine.
This is the first lap.
Right? Okay, I'm gonna ask like a nuanced question of all of these. I feel like I'm good about this. Okay, so this living room with the aquarium with the robots. How are there like lots of places to sit to look at the robot aquarium, or is everything like turned away from that and it's just sort of
I was thinking the aquarium kind of weaves through the floor and up the walls and stuff, so there's really no way you can go in this room and not see the android mermaids.
Okay.
It's like an old trapper keeper in there.
Okay. Lisa Frank just vomited all over that living room. All right, John, what is your encounter or room?
My room is one of the bedrooms, the big master suite, okay, has a gigantic bathtub in it.
Okay.
And the water in the bathtub is both frozen and black.
Oh, okay.
Very good.
I do not like that. Is there anything inside of the water?
And I'm not sure yet. I think we could keep tweaking this, but I think maybe there's an alien inside the water.
Okay.
Or some sort of spore, or like the X-Files black goop alien or something. Sort
Some
of
kind of amoeba or something could be in there. Yeah.
Yeah, some non-human alien parasite. I keep thinking like it'll be like the Star Monster in the latest Suicide Squad movie, but something like bizarre or unexpected, non-human, non-bipedal. So maybe there's the blob, like literally the blob is, and he prefers a different environment, so he froze the water. If you break open the water, out comes little ovipositors or whatever and attack you.
Yeah, I like that idea of having just like, that's really unexpected, like a really, I don't know. I think that's kind of fun to throw that in there. It feels very random, but in a good way.
Yeah, that's my it's my middle name. Very random, but in a good way.
Is it hyphenated?
No, it's like a hashtag. It's just all runs together. It's weird.
Okay, Andy, what is your idea for a room encounter?
What about some kind of a game room, like a cross between like a laser tag arena and like the holodeck on a Star Trek ship? I mean, any kinds of shenanigans could happen there. I mean, an obvious one is like it got set to kill, or something like that. Maybe there's drones or robots in there that you're supposed to shoot with your laser tag gun. Yeah, something like that.
Is this like it's bigger on the inside sort of scenario, or is it like
I think so. Like
size?
What I'm thinking, like, the sort of person that buys the latest like prototype VR setup or chamber or something like that, like it's like a fancy, like a holodeck type of thing where it could be programmed to reproduce like a lot of different types of environments, maybe. I don't know exactly. We'd have to.
Oh no, I like that. A little bit of a picture of this guy. I think to give him some nuance, he doesn't make any of this stuff. He just acquires it, right? Like, so it's very different. Like that, the holodeck thing. Like, he didn't make that, or like hack something like that. Right. He bought this off the shelf, or paid someone lots of money for it, right? I think that'll come into play like throughout. Okay. That was my thought. The room I'm thinking about is the kitchen is to his specifications modeled exactly on like a 18th century kitchen inside of a castle. So like despite it being like hypermod, like far future times, like he demands that his staff cook in like this like antiquated technology. So like you're walking through this giant cool space station, everything's sleek and all that, and then you walk into like a stone stone kitchen.
I love that.
Low ceilings, nothing's ergonomic, that sort of thing. All right, let's keep going. Kyle, what do you got?
I think the computer core is in the middle of a topiary maze.
Okay.
he's just done this thing where he's just like, well, I only had so much of a footprint to have this stuff, and we needed a computer core, but I also wanted the topiary maze, so
yeah. Okay.
All right, John.
Spared no expense.
Then, in addition to that, there's it's not like a ballroom. It's like it is like a ballroom. It's a place where you could dance, right? And whether you want to do disco or ballroom dancing. So there's automated music there that can be programmed, and then there's Android dancing partners. So if it's an odd man out or a situation where somebody doesn't want to dance with somebody there, they could dance with an Android, which, of course, have become homicidal for some reason.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah.
The twist is that they're not homicidal, actually.
The twist is surprisingly they're just there to dance. That's the twist.
They're very good. I'm thinking about like was like Showbiz Pizza, like those animatronic. You have like an animatronic band.
Freddy's situation here.
Yes. Yeah.
It would be cool if they were all like patterned after like whatever movie stars were popular when this guy was growing up.
Yes.
Oh.
So like you do kind of get this weird like, and the uncanny valley, Lucy Liu starts talking to you and telling you she wants to dance.
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking about like pattern after historical dancers. Oh, yeah. No, go ahead. I liked your idea better. Yeah, so what was that?
It was like a wax museum, but with dancing androids.
Okay. Nice. I thought that's what you said. I just wanted to hear you say it again. A wax museum with dancing androids. All right. Andy?
Yeah, what about some sort of an animal preserve? Like, I imagine this sort of person who like just acquires exotic creatures. Like he doesn't know or care about like, their ecosystems or how to, he plops them into his, this animal preserve. So maybe depending on the setting, he's got crazy alien specimens from around the galaxy, or maybe they're mostly terrestrial creatures. And maybe they're just there for this one encounter, or maybe they're linked to like whatever the black goo is, or maybe they're linked to something more serious that's going on.
I mean, the opportunity you've just created here is to let us do whatever we want, wherever we want, right? Like maybe the problem is there was this. This is so good. There was this, zoo basically, and the pirates broke in and they unleashed a couple of things they shouldn't unleashed, and that's the black goo, and that's the alien that is going to chew your throat out or whatever.
Yeah.
And this could be the source of that.
And the creatures could be like, they could be funny role-playing opportunities to interact to deal with them, or they could, be a horrifying threat from beyond the stars, as needed by the tone we're going for.
And maybe like the stowaway, which we haven't talked about a lot recently, but like maybe he's eaten a couple of them already.
Yes.
Sorry, what if there's like this endangered ibex that he just had a dinner from?
Yeah. I find that too delightful, Kyle.
Yeah. What if the zoo is kept under like cryogenic stasis until they show up? So it's like in the meantime, when no one's here, he just like puts them all on ice immediately, and then you can have one of them will cut them.
That is such rich person garbage right there.
I know, right? Yeah.
I have a zoo, but I only want them to be moving when I'm there. So
maybe there's two zookeepers that also get cryogenically frozen, like with the animals.
That's really good.
Oh, I like that.
Because that adds they wake up and like, all right, how much water buffalo poop do I have to shovel? and then they're in the middle of this whole situation, like the alarms are blaring. Somebody's decapitated someone with some hedge clippers.
And hey, a source of backup PCs, depending on how violent the adventure's been to this point. In fact, that's something to think about. Is there like a cryogenic? Is there like a cryo room where the maids and butlers are stored in between parties?
I think so. I mean, you have like there's the wax museum full of androids as well, right? Like, so there's places we can, there can be additional characters should the need arise.
Right.
Yes.
And that kind of works for our stowaway too. Maybe it's the butler or like the valet who just like he sabotaged his own sleep pod so he didn't have to go to sleep because he was tired of that.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
All right, Chris, we're back to you if you want to do another round or you want to just wrap up this one.
Yeah, let me think of something. Y'all took like the good ideas. I'm trying to think like what else he would have. Like what else would this guy be super into? I think he has like go ahead.
I was gonna say he needs his crypto mine somewhere.
Yeah, I was just thinking along those lines. Like, yeah, he needs his office, right? Like his office where he does like he checks his stocks, right? So I think like you go in there, there's all these like gorgeous bookshelves and stuff with absolutely no books on them, like that sort of thing. There's like one gigantic computer terminal that just has stock tickers and stuff going, and then I think like this guy would probably have no, maybe the stuff that's on the shelves is like the original Constitution, like the Declaration. Like he just like collected these things. Like he has that like Dune book, right? Like that just sold for £2 million. Like he's just like got like any of those like priceless artifacts just sort of tossed in a corner there.
He's got like a Wu-Tang Clan album.
Yeah.
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 The one that Bill Murray's allowed, the only person ever allowed to steal it is Bill Murray.
Yes. Yeah.
He has a picture of him and Bill Murray. Stealing the album.
That is I really like that idea, Chris. That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do we need more spaces, or should we go on to thinking about other additional encounters?
So
any other spaces that people are thinking about?
Yeah, just to have it there. This is mundane, but like, like I guess John hit on this a little bit earlier, but like living quarters or like guest rooms, like that he would probably have almost a small hotel's worth of like guest facilities.
Okay.
If he's throwing parties for all his rich friends.
Can you only access the guest room via gondola?
Yes, of course.
But it's all frozen, so you have to scoot across this ice sheet to get to all the rooms.
Nice.
It's like the Willy Wonka tunnel. Like he's recreated that Willy Wonka tunnel. So I think this guy, like he wouldn't. Maybe this is going too far into it, but I think he would like make everybody sleep in VR, right? So he just has like sleep pods, but like before you go on them, you put on VR, like headsets, so it feels like you're in this palatial estate when you go to sleep, but you're just like shoved off in a corner. But at this point, I don't think we're really dealing with like a sensible space at all. So I think I'm also fine with it. There's just a hotel like hanging off the end of this thing.
I'm kind of thinking that this is kind of like a series of like geodesic domes that are kind of like stapled to an asteroid or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that
a lot, actually.
You only get there by gondola. Are each of the rooms, and we wouldn't have to define all of these, but like, do they each have a theme? Is that this sort of thing, or are they like all the same?
I wouldn't bother unless we think of a really super good reason for anyone to go there. Because I'm imagining like by the time they would get to the rooms, they'll realize there's pirates and like other stuff going on, and they are no longer doing the job that they were sent here to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So when the PCs show up, say they pull up a map of this facility, if they're going to do their job, where are they going to go? Like, do we know? Can we nail down a little more specifically, like what they're supposed to do or what problem they're supposed to solve here?
Yeah, so if they came to redecorate, I think to me the thing that jumps out is like the ballroom, living room.
Yeah.
Maybe like the master suite or something like that. Like those would be the rooms you might set up for a party. Right, because like the other ones, like the game room, right?
The sleeping rooms, but
yeah, the sleeping rooms. I'm kind of thinking the sleeping rooms, like that could be a big hairy problem if they go down that road. Yeah. So I think like that's just closed off to them for some reason. Like maybe that part of the geodesic structure broke off, or it's frozen over, or something like that. Like just say that they're there, but if they go in there, then you're just gonna have all these problems with like.
I like frozen solid. I think that's really interesting because and speaking of frozen, like the help. If they have people on site to do this stuff, why wouldn't they unfreeze them? But they don't have all the new couches and stuff, so I guess that's just a totally different department.
Yes, it's a totally different department. And why would they talk to each other?
Yeah, maybe the staff is like, androids or some sort of like low level robot type staff or something like that doesn't have the problem solving like initiative that like humans do or something.
Well, they can't decorate. Androids can't decorate.
The instincts of a good design.
And maybe this maybe the crypto bro. I mean, maybe he just insists on real whatever. Yeah. So I was thinking one other location. I was wondering, could we throw something like a little bit of an out of context challenge? Could there be something about this facility that like maybe predates the crypto bro? Like, was it built on an asteroid with them that was like mined out for a while or something like that? Just so that there is a part of this facility that's not the crypto bros like
You just
playground.
introduced an abandoned mine shaft into our crypto bro house, and I love it.
Yeah, or it was whatever. There was a military outpost here, on this asteroid 150 years ago that's sealed off, and maybe he doesn't even know it's there or something like that. I don't know.
Or he doesn't
I mean,
care.
that does kind of like give us a possible entry point for the goo monster.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Is like, it's been frozen in this, maybe it's a comet. Maybe it's like he stopped Halley's comet to build his house on.
Nice.
But yeah, I like the idea
told me
of,
not
like,
to do it.
This is something that has already been mined out by space, but it's only when like he had his like heating and air conditioning situation that it defrosted whatever kind of like horrible amoeba that's been frozen inside of Halley's comet for trillions of years is now loose.
Right.
I like it. Jeez, this guy.
And then you can have the this door is always locked. Why isn't this door locked moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that. Okay, so a couple.
Can the mine shaft be behind a grandfather clock?
Yes.
Of course.
Or a bookcase or something. It has to be something really weird and ominous.
And there's a slight gust of air that starts coming up from behind his grandfather clock. And it's weird because this place is climate controlled by like just raising the ambient temperature and stuff. And it's like there's no wind in here.
Yeah.
So when making like an old school dungeon, like you'll often see at the beginning like some default descriptors of the environment. So like the light level throughout is at this level and ceilings are 10 feet high unless otherwise specified. So what is the general condition? Is it like temperate, life support's working, you can breathe without a suit, generally speaking?
So. Yeah,
I think you have to wear winter jackets, and the only lighting is your headlamp until you cut on the power.
Okay. Oh, I like the idea of having to get to the power to like switch it. So it's just running on like, some sort of auxiliary low-level power until they flip the switch. So maybe that's the first, like the obvious first thing to do is to get to whatever the power room.
Okay.
That'll be in the middle of the topiary garden, I think.
And so could the PCs have, so they'll have been given access cards to get everywhere, but maybe could we have a couple of places like tantalizingly not covered by their access cards permission level?
Ooh,
yes.
Yeah.
And maybe even a place they need to get to, like there was a screw up and so their access card won't let them into the living room for some reason. I don't know.
I like that. Yeah, maybe, it's like, I feel like the living room is a good hub. It's like a good, like, central point that you can kind of come back to. But maybe you can't get into the garden AI core. Like, you'll have to go in through the zoo. Like, you'll have to climb through the air ducts the zoo to get to that.
I would love
After going through all that, you're met with a maze.
I like the idea of a navigational challenge, some sort of a navigational challenge. So they can't just say, okay, next we're just going to walk to this location and there's no problems.
Yeah. Just as a quick aside, would it be too much to have like secret missions for each character, right? Like some sort of extra thing that they're trying to accomplish.
That's what Paranoia does.
Okay. How does Paranoia handle it?
So Paranoia, everybody gets all secret societies are illegal, and if the computer finds out you belong to one, it'll kill you immediately. but everyone belongs to one.
Okay.
And so you all have mission-specific kind of goals that you're given at the beginning. I've always wanted to play a game where everyone gets a private text or something at the beginning that says you have no secret mission. But then they all look around at everybody else and go like, wait, I don't have one, but this implies that somebody does.
Yeah. Just
I think
just as
it
a
might
reminder,
be-
none of you have a secret mission.
I think it might be a bit much to give everyone a mission. I mean, it sounds delightfully fun, but thinking in terms of a one shot, that
Mhm.
that could quickly, and maybe this is a good thing, but I feel like that has a potential to quickly override everything else that's going on, which could be
That's
fun. Is it?
What if
do we wanna
everybody
run-
gets a text at the beginning of the game that says, you are not a pirate?
No, we're not playing werewolf.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
I mean, I like this, but yeah, I think Andy's right. It's wrong for this setup,
Yes.
but everybody
This is
table
true.
that for your next game.
So
Yeah.
my question is, are we playing Mothership or are we playing I forgot my question. I'm just trying to figure out like, or are we playing Mothership or are we playing Fiasco? You know what I mean? Because if you want to turn this into a Fiasco game, that's where everybody's own private agenda could come into play. But I don't
Yeah.
think that's what you want to do.
No, I don't think I want to go that far. Like, so we're not going to play Mothership, mostly because I started reading it and I was enjoying it, and then I got to the page that described all the different guns, and I was like, I
Too
don't.
many guns.
You don't have to
Yeah.
run. None of these people will have guns.
It's true. Like, right. Like, yeah. So I don't think it's quite the right system.
Okay.
We're going to do like whatever system we're going to use is going to be pretty light. I think it's mostly going to be like that D4 game that you posted about, Kyle.
Caltrop.
It's just going to be
Caltrop
like,
core.
yeah, Caltrop core. Right. So you roll 1, you failed, 2, mild success, 3. Yeah, like it's going to be very simple like that.
But I think what John was maybe getting at is this a game where the drama, we want to throw all sorts of seeds for players to create their own drama, or is this
Yes.
going to be a game mostly where the party is working together to deal with like the environment around them?
I think working together is my inclination. And I think the other thing that I would just hasten to say is that like none of these people have killed someone before either, right? Like,
Right.
so their approach to a problem is not going to be like, I'm going to use my hedge clippers and cut his head off. It's going to be like, what are you doing, pirates? Right? Like,
Yeah.
they're
Leave us alone.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, would it make sense to go around in a similar way and identify a couple of like NPCs or NPCs or creatures or something like that are somewhere on the station? How do we want to proceed? So we've got this list of rooms. We can kind of, it'd be hard to just over the podcast here to kind of describe exactly all the ways they're connected. So I'm kind of tempted to leave that up to Kyle when he maps it, and then Chris, like when you're the GM, to kind of connect them in ways that make sense. But how do you guys recommend we proceed?
I'm leaning towards maybe. So I think like there's a fair number of NPCs that we've alluded to. I think maybe we come up with the like what John was saying, like six or 10 things that could happen at any one time, like whether they're attached to a room or just in general that could happen. Because like we're gonna get down to a point I think where we're gonna start mixing and matching stuff, and I want to be a bit concrete with that. I don't want this to be like a roll a d10 to see which room you're in, roll a d6 to see what happened. Like, right, like we'll constrain it a bit more than that. But like, let's talk through some of that stuff. Like, so the stowaway. Let's talk through. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I think that what Andy's getting at, I think the way I would do this is let's give you all these tools and let you put them together in a way that makes the most sense. Whether you do that ahead of time or in the moment, I think we can leave up to you. You know what I mean? If that's enough.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm going to make you do some of my homework.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to
say
limit
this.
Just to the bangers.
Yeah. So it was a little bit of a different scenario, but like in a one shot I ran recently, I did kind of what we just did. I made an index card for each of the major locations, and before I went to the game, I didn't even put them in order. Like when I got there, I just randomly put them in front of me, and the connections between them, and I just ran with what that was. So I feel like this is a game that, at least to some extent, the GM is going to need to do some on the fly arranging of all of these pieces, because we've actually, for a one shot, we've actually already just put a lot of stuff out there. In a 2-hour game, you're not going to explore most of these locations, I don't think. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I do like the idea of kind of listing out some things that could happen, whether they're encounters or like events. So Chris, do you want to start us by put something on that list?
Yeah, let's do that, and then let's generate this list. I think that's a good place to start. The stowaway, I'm still like I'm kind of stuck on that because I think it's a really good idea. I think I like it being a staff member. I think John might have said that, who just sabotaged their, like, decided not to get on the ship to go back and decided to hide out like that. So it's some sort of staff member. Maybe it's a mechanic, like, who decided to stay back for some reason. They wanted to like finish up something that the other crew members weren't giving them enough time to finish, and now he's like, oh well, I guess I have to stay here for a year until people show back up again. So maybe not a year, 3 months, I guess. Let's see, we're going through a pandemic right now. How long did it take for you to break? I
like 3 months.
Maybe it's been 3 months. Yeah.
What I like,
if you think of like The Shining, a season's worth of isolation, is enough.
Space, right?
Okay.
So I like that he's not nefarious, right? Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the assumption. Like when you see evidence of his habitation, it's like, oh, whoa. And maybe he was just like subcontracted, and that's why your company doesn't know that he's there.
Yes.
So what's he doing?
3 months,
so
mostly
when the
just
PCs,
chilling, watching TV. Yeah.
So when he comes into contact with the PCs, what's going on? Is he gone crazy? Is he just normal? What's his deal when the PCs walk in on him?
I think he's
eating a big sandwich.
He's excited to see them. He's like, thank God you're here. Like. I think what you're getting at, Chris, is he didn't mean to stay this long.
Yeah. I like the idea that he's still committed to whatever he stayed there to do, but it required a second set of hands to finish it. So he's super excited to see you, and he also really needs you to come with him to the topiary maze, because there's just like one thing he needs to do. Yeah.
I like that.
He could be, or this could be a different NPC. He could be out to sabotage the place in some way. Like maybe he let the pirates in, or he was trying to free the zoo creatures that he hated to see them cooped up and maltreated. I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah. What if there's a lot of stowaways?
Oh man.
I don't know how
Why don't we move on and get a few other things on the list here, and let's see what kind of feels right to us. Kyle, do you want to toss something onto the list?
This is not so much of an encounter, but I think it would be really fun to see one of these zoo animals outside of a window, like floating and like frozen in space. It's like, and it just kind of implies that like maybe the pirates did something. Maybe it's like, a saber-toothed tiger or something like that was like cloned from iceberg blood or something. And it's like it got loose. It tried to attack them, and they just like flushed it out an airlock. And it's just like, well, what happened there? There's a whole story here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick with my idea of running into a pirate that ran into something they couldn't handle, whether it's the monster that we ultimately reveal. So I'm going to go back to they are either dead, or they are running from something, or they're themselves very scared.
Okay.
Or just to give you all the options, they are just surprised to see the players. Like the pirates don't have the drop on the players. The pirates don't know they're there. And so when the players first run in, the pirates are surprised.
And even any pirates back on the ship, if you land right next to them, the walkie-talkies don't work because of the storm.
Right.
Okay. Andy, what are you thinking?
Well, let's see. What if I don't know, I'm kind of torn. I kind of want us to put a little bit of an edge. One reason I kind of like John's idea there is I want us to put at least a few sharp edges into this, where like it moves from being kind of crazy to dangerous or scary. But that said, this idea is not those things. But what if something happens that just like threatens to ruin the station, like the aquarium breaks and starts leaking, and that's like $1 trillion galacto credits that's going to come out of the PC salary if they don't fix it.
I like that.
I just had like, what if a klaxon like starts sounding and like it's like red alert, like that, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and you finally figure out that like the red alert is because the price of Bitcoin has dropped like one penny, or like some insignificant amount, but it means trillions of dollars.
The subtext is he won't be able to afford to pay you by the time you land.
yeah, like he goes bankrupt. Yeah.
I love it.
I'm just gonna write down Bitcoin drops in price.
I have going back to Andy's abandoned mine shaft. I think just for ambient things, they can up the tension and mark a clock. There's a tremor of some kind, like the asteroid is unstable, that nobody's expecting, and that's a little alarming.
Okay, so just to pause, like think about what Andy was saying about like an edge. So the thing that I'm not quite grasping right now, and maybe we're just not there yet, is like the arc of what this is going to be, right? So there's a collection of like fun ideas and all that, right? But like I want there to be a beginning, middle, and end to this that isn't just I want the middle not just be like you experience a lot of wacky stuff on a space station. It was really scary, and then the end is you get off. Like, yeah, like I think we need our core conflict defined.
Right. Can I make a pitch, not as a final draft, but as something to react to? Just a quick sequence, like encounter the station. You enter the station. It's that sort of binary choice. You see this other ship. Do you want to do main entrance or maintenance entrance? You discover that there are others unexpectedly on the station, right? And you think that's the conflict. But then you both face another adversary, whether it's this frozen amoeba creature or something else, that you have to overcome and escape the station. And then in there we have to work the time pressure of the storm that makes it so they can't just lock themselves in a room and wait it out.
Yeah, this is good.
Because Kyle's point about the storm interfering with radios and stuff is how we're going to defeat the cell phone problem, right? Like,
yeah.
They can't call home base. They can't do any of that. So that's my quick summary, and I'm not saying that's finished. I'm saying maybe we could react to and work with that and see if that's what we want to do.
And only the pirate captain's fingerprints can activate the pirate ship.
Yeah.
So you either need his cooperation or his fingerprints in order to leave. Because the shuttle cannot leave again until the storm is over, and that's going to last like a day or two or something like that. Okay. So you have to survive here. Either long enough, with the monster on the loose, you have to survive for 2 days, or you have to find some way to activate the pirate ship and leave.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So what do we feel about the like monster idea, like the alien amoeba or something like that? I mean, at some point, do we want to have that be the primary conflict driver, like that there's an alien loose or it's spreading or something like that?
Or is it a bunch of aliens from the zoo?
I like the animals. The zoo animals mostly being like earth animals.
Okay.
I like the idea that this creature has worked its way into the water system from the comet or the mine from below, but it has gotten frozen. But once you power the place up, that is what has. So by turning on the power, you have started the clock of monster unfreezes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I like that.
Yeah.
What is the danger the monster poses? Is it going to like kill you? Does it is it just physically spreading through the station? Like what kind of creature is this? What level of threat is it posing?
I like and maybe this is darker than you want to go, Chris, but I like the sort of 28 days later, like if it touches you, you become the enemy kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
that
maybe
might
that's
be
too much.
Yeah. I'm not sold on like goo. I think I want it to be more concrete than that. Which right, we can figure out what that is. But I don't want to like player death is fine. I don't want it to be so easy to happen as just like you accidentally touched the goo monster.
Yeah.
Or like like that. Yeah. So like I mean maybe like deciding is it I think the threat level, like going back to your question about like the threat is a good one. I think it's like it doesn't quite care about the space station, or maybe it wants to like dismantle it and like get the comet going again. Like that's its primary purpose.
Right. And if the people there die, it doesn't even notice them, right? Like
it's trying to separate this space station from its comet.
Right.
What if it looks out the windows and sees all the water on Earth and goes like, yeah, that's where I want to be.
That's what we've been looking for. That ratchets up the stakes quite a bit. So if you bring it back with you.
But yeah, maybe it passes like from person to person, or like maybe once somebody is infected, it like kind of like fuses to you thing style, like body horror style. So you just end up with this big rolling body pile.
Oh,
nice.
No. Like Katamari.
Yes.
Yeah.
Katamari Demoncy.
Yeah.
I like the idea of I don't know, I feel like to me I'm drawn to something that's like in between there's a predator loose that's like picking you off one by one, and well, like that seems a little, I don't know, this is a one shot, it does need to be kind of exciting, like, but that seems a bit much to have that, like roaming around the station killing people. So like I do like the idea that it's trying to do something that just, it would be bad news for the PCs if it accomplished its goal, even if it's not really trying to kill them. So like, yeah, I mean, disconnect sever the facility from the asteroid or comet, or maybe it does. Maybe it wants to get on their ship and fly back home, into deep space, or I don't know.
Well, if the station is so let me switch the tech level here and see what you think. So what's protecting the station from the storm is some sort of magnetic shield, right? Shields like shield technology. And the creature wants to destroy the station because the mechanics of the station are what are keeping its comet in place. So if it destroys the station, it and its comet can go back on its journey. And the players are incidental, but what it's doing is preventing them from activating the magnetic field or activating the shutters or whatever it is that keeps the station safe from the storm. So the race against time is against an entity that's not malevolent but trying to protect its territory. And they either need to stop it or get off. And that way we have choice for the players and two different ways to resolve it. Does that make sense? Is that too simple?
No, I like the way this is going. It's not exactly trying to kill them, but they have to find a way to deal with it, or they can't succeed.
Mm-hmm. Can they talk to it?
Yeah, if there's a possession thing, we can kind of have like this weird, creepy talking thing, like in ID for Independence Day. We could also have the monster kind of inhabiting or commandeering the body of the pirate captain. So you can't leave without confronting both the monster and the pirate captain. So we put the key kind of like in the monster.
Yes.
I want to
Because if the
drop
option,
in. I'm going to drop in with my annoying thing here, and I
yeah,
do think we are also teetering on the edge of getting a little complicated for a
yeah,
one shot.
sure.
Yes, yeah.
I don't have
Well,
to run it though.
You invite
Well,
Kyle and I. What do you expect? I'm just saying.
That's why I am a part of this discussion to periodically say that.
Thank you. Just thinking like, okay, so like, what if, okay, so we have pirates that are showing up. Like, what if the pirates have stashed something on the comet a while back, or they're chasing after, something
That's
that was on the
really
comet?
good.
Yeah, and like, so
That's
they,
really good.
yeah, so they break in, like, heck, maybe the comet's like a prison or something. It's some sort of space prison, and inside of there is like their actual leader or something like that, right? So they're trying to spring that guy out. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads. Let's back up. Back up.
I'm like, you just abandoned the billionaire mansion here, Chris. What are you doing to me?
Back up. Yeah. So they're there to go into the comet, less so into the space station. So maybe they unleash whatever that monster is, then that way, and then
It's buried
they
treasure,
bring it
right?
out.
It's
Yeah.
like treasure buried in the mine, just like an actual pirate story. So they go to get it, and that's what unleashes the monster.
That's good. I like
Mhm.
it. It's so
It's
mundane
yeah.
and pulpy. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that? I mean, so that I feel like is a little bit simpler of
Yeah.
a story.
Yep, I think that is a better direction. Yes.
Okay. So then okay, I'm getting Andy's giving me the like, oh no, we're running out of time.
I
I
actually
think he
have
specifically
a line.
didn't say anything because he didn't want to distract you, and I don't think it worked.
Yeah,
No, it
the
didn't. It
whole
was
point
much
of that
worse
was
that way.
the whole point of that was to prevent me having to like actually verbally interrupt the conversation and go,
Yeah.
"Hey guys, we're at about an hour and a half. We should."
How did it
Yeah,
go,
it was-
Andy?
Completely derailed me. Okay, so I don't remember what I was going to say. So I guess we're going to wrap up right there.
Okay.
Oh no,
so
I was going to ask.
the pirates are after something, and
The pirates have gone into the comet to like get the treasure, and when they come out with it, something else comes along with them. What does that thing look like? It can't be black goo. It can't be an energy monster. Like this thing needs to have wings and arms. Like what does it look like?
Is it a bug alien?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if it's just like a grasshopper with a vaguely human-shaped face? Like that. I mean, that's all you have to do.
Yeah, that's bad. I really don't like that at all.
I do like Kyle's idea of how it communicates as it like sticks its claw in the back of someone's neck and speaks through them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I still think
the
your
brain
grasshopper with
proboscis.
a vaguely human face could do that.
We went into nightmare fuel really fast.
This is bad.
You listen, as has been brought up several times. If that's not what you wanted, you invited the wrong guy.
So what I kind of like, and maybe this is what I like the idea that the pirates have had to go through this facility to get to where they want. Like they
And maybe
can't.
it's kind of trashed, right?
Yeah, and I like even maybe defining the route they've taken through the facility and just wait until the PCs bumble into it. Yeah, as for the creature, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we could go kind of straight and pulpy with this one. It's a big bug-eyed like monster. Yeah, I don't know.
The one alternative I'll provide is what about a bunch of little fast-moving scary ones
Oh.
instead of one big one?
Like a bunch of well, I don't know. Yeah,
Like,
just a bunch of kind of like
was thinking like Pitch
football-sized
Black when I said that,
grasshoppers
right?
with human faces.
Yeah, okay. We got there, okay.
One thing that does that's nice is it makes it impossible for the solution to be like a gunfight against the monster.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
if
'cause there's a
if
lot
the
of them.
alien is more of like an environmental threat, like how do we keep all of these, cat-sized creatures from spreading all through the station? That's a tougher and more interesting thing than like, all right, everyone surround the monster and hit it with your crowbar.
Because
Yeah,
I still think
like that.
your plot is not kill the monster, right? Your plot is escape the station.
Mm-hmm.
using your ship or the pirate ship, or stop the outbreak and save the station from the storm. Like those are the two choices. But yeah, like to Andy's point, if it's one big one, you can just kill it in theory, and that's not what you want.
Why are the PCs not getting back in their shuttle and leaving when things start to go bad and it becomes clear that they can't really save the station?
It's an automated shuttle.
Yeah,
it's automated or it blows up.
Yeah. Okay, I like that idea. It literally won't leave until the allotted time.
Yeah, I mean their shift isn't up for 24 hours, so it's not gonna it's like one of those sorts of things. Yeah.
And and they being in this station with this whatever the aliens are for 24 hours is an intolerable would be intolerable.
I mean it could even just be it's not even like a numbered number of these things. It's a steady stream of them are coming into the ship. So it's like you either have to figure out some way to hole up until help can arrive, and maybe help never arrives. Yeah, get off the station, deal with it in some way, blow up the whole station.
I like the idea of that, Chris, and I like the idea though that the aliens will start sabotaging the ship in a way that will kill the PCs before the 24-hour time lock on their shuttle opens. So the aliens, as they spread the magnetic shielding is going down or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean they could even not be interested in the party at all. It's like you just kind of walk through them and they just move around you. Like they don't care because they want to eat. They're going towards water sources, or they're going straight towards the walls.
Well, if they're creatures from an old mine, right? They're eating the metal of the station, and they're going to poke holes in it.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
They're eating the gold wiring and all the stuff you need to be working.
They're metal eating creatures. They couldn't care less about you,
unless you're holding metal.
But there's so many.
Unless you're holding metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll react in self-defense if you attack, just enough to hurt you and drive you off, but not to swarm and kill you. And I like the idea that they just start wrecking the station, location by location.
And the first thing they wreck is either we do the time delay ship or they wreck your ship first, and then then you've got to keep them from getting in the pirate ship or whatever.
Yeah.
If we don't do the time delay ship, there's always the possibility that they just run for the ship. The second they realize that there's a pirate crew here, they try to leave, and that can't be an option.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes. Yeah, it can't be.
So why would the pirates? So what are the? Okay, so just thinking here. So the PCs are bumbling around doing their job, maybe having a few wacky encounters, and they bump into the pirates who are making a beeline for their ship.
Either
having
fleeing
just
or
unleashed a lot of creatures.
Yeah, they've either found what they wanted or they're fleeing.
Yeah.
Okay. So the pirates get back on their ship, and I guess do the PCs have a window where they can get on the pirate ship in some way through negotiation or force or stealth or something like that? Or is okay.
I think the pirate ship is also planning on leaving just before the solar flare hits. Right.
So the pirates, pirates got what they want, and then that loosed the creatures, right?
Yeah.
So when the PCs encounter the pirates, are they running back to their ship with what they want and just getting in their ship and leaving the PCs?
I think that they've taken something, and the creatures do want it. They're not going to kill the pirates though, and the pirates are trying to figure out how to get back to their ship.
Well, I mean, it could also be where maybe they, I don't know, that's why I'm thinking the pirates can't leave because the captain has the key, and and the captain is missing and some there's some kind of problem they
don't know where he is.
Yeah, exactly. They all scatter and look for safety. Some of them run back to the ship and then realize we can't take off without the captain's key, and that means you can't take off without the captain's key.
Ooh, I do like the idea of the captain being somewhere on the station and no one knows where, but I don't know why that would be the case.
Because they scattered.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they scatter back to their ship though?
Because the captain is there for he has a secret agenda. Right?
Ah.
Like he was sent to get the thing, but he's the guy with the thumb drive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's tracking down the office or something.
Like he's going to give these pirates whatever the thing in the mine was, but the real treasure here is the Bitcoin that he's going to put on his thumb drive.
I think I'm getting confused about the timeline of the solar flare, right? Like, is that okay? So like
is that because we haven't talked about it?
Because we haven't talked about it. Like, does it still matter at this point?
That's up to you.
If we have the aliens degrading the station, that's like a countdown to doom already. I don't think we need the solar flare. Okay. I mean, please argue back if you disagree. My sense here is the solar flare is like a non-dangerous thing that just explains why they can't cell phone home for help.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's
and the degradation of the station from the metal chomping aliens.
Yes,
is the real threat.
So that means that the metal chomping aliens need to, like, on the timeline, like the PCs have time to explore one or two areas before the aliens get out, right?
Yes.
Again, thinking 2 hour one shot here, or maybe 4 hour one shot. 2 hours is a little. I don't know why I've been saying 2 hours. Maybe that's because I want to remind us to be done with this discussion in 2 hours. But
yeah. You're dropping subtle hints. In half an hour from then. So I think that leads to my question. Yeah, it's like when you arrive, are those aliens already starting to come out of the hole, or is the sequence like you're on at minute 15, like a pirate makes a sound somewhere coming up from the mine. At minute 30, all the pirates are starting to unload treasure. At minute 45, they finish unloading. At 1 hour, like they realize the captain's gone. Hour 15, the aliens start coming out. Like, is that So I think like having some like a sequence of events, and then maybe them happening.
And in those earlier times, they can run into the weird rooms, and they can run into the stowaway, and they can see the frozen zoo animal, and all those things can sort of start to pile up for them.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, Chris. I think you could use an actual timer, as you GM. You could also just say after the PCs have explored 2 rooms, the next, the next event happens or something like that.
Okay. That makes sense to me. I'm wondering if, right, so like some point it has to become a bit more open-ended. Or it's just like, you tell them up front, like, look at whatever time it is. The aliens are starting to gnaw through the walls in 28 minutes on the dot. Like they're going to eat through everything, and then you're dead. So like, what do you do?
And I think that's a game time decision based on how much dawdling the PCs are doing. If they're not jumping into action, then they have big mouths and are chewing really fast. And if they are jumping into action, you don't need to make it quite so extreme.
You could also just start switching off like locations, and the PCs would be able to see this on like a station map or something like that. Like just the integrity of the zoo or whatever just failed. That location is off limits unless you're in a spacesuit now. And just that the time pressure is sooner or later the PC's location is going to get invaded, and they'll be toast.
Yeah. Okay. So this is coming together a little bit in my head then. So it seems like there's going to be a couple of things that will be static, right? Like about how the PCs encounter things. So like the pirate cat is always in the office. The stowaway is always in the kitchen, like something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, like the power switch is always in the topiary. Like, there'll be like a couple of things like that where they can, no matter what they do, that person is there. But then otherwise the timing is really with like where are the pirates at any certain time, unless the PCs start to interact with them, I guess. Yep. Like, so yeah, at minute 15 they're down in the mine. Like, so tracking that I think is figuring that out will be a little difficult. I'm also trying to think if the aliens don't end up coming out of that mine, then it's a really boring setup, right? So like, I think the pirates do some explosive damage to get down into the mine. So at minute 30, there's an actual explosion that happens, and the grandfather clock is toast.
I like that idea. Yeah,
springs and gears everywhere, and there's just like a giant gaping hole that they cannot fill.
Right. And aliens start pouring out, and it's bedlam.
It's bedlam.
And they
immediately
know
have
what the aliens do,
weakness.
And that's where Andy's idea comes in.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I feel like we've mapped out the contours of this adventure reasonably well, and now is maybe the time to identify the things that need a little bit more solidification. And like one of them, I think Kyle was mentioning, is when we talk about the alien, like we want the PCs to be free to come up with their own way of dealing with it, but what can we define about these creatures that would suggest some ways the PCs could deal with them?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no bad ideas in brainstorming. They're allergic to blood.
Okay. Yeah. That's not bad.
Well, yeah, I think,
Listen,
well, whether it's blood or not, I mean, maybe give them a vulnerability to something a little unlikely, but that the PCs could plausibly, through accident or intent, find out. It still doesn't tell them exactly how to deal with the infestation, but so what do you guys
They're
think?
allergic to blood. You have a whole zoo full of animals. You have a bunch of pirates. You got options.
Yeah, and a million bugs. What if they like light, right? Like, so they're mind dwellers. Like, what if they're hypersensitive to light?
Okay, yeah,
that's really good.
That's
but
a
they'll
good one.
Eat through the light cables to make it go away.
Yeah.
So that's like a stressor. Like, you can create light, but they can take it away, right? So then,
that's a good one. Yeah, maybe they're really slowed down by light. Like, it doesn't kill them, but their progress can be slowed heavily if, like, the PCs can flood an area with light or open it to the sun or something.
What if they can digest metal, but they can also photosynthesize light? So if you shine light on them, they stop and like start eating the light and grow really rapidly.
So it gives you an opportunity to slow them down, but then they become more dangerous.
Yeah.
One of the worst things in the world I've ever seen. Last time I went to
I
Mammoth
can't wait
Cave.
to hear what's going to come out of your mouth.
It's so much worse than you want. So last time I went to Mammoth Cave, there are these spiders that live in caves that their skin absorbs CO2. So if you breathe on them, they get bigger.
No.
So it could be like that.
I'm done.
I support whatever terrible like mining operation wants to strip mine Mammoth Cave. Go for it.
I've been thinking of these aliens as like big like pill bugs or something like that. But like now that you've introduced the idea that they're horrible cave spiders, it suddenly got a lot more horrifying.
Yeah.
No, they're pill bugs. They're nice rolling.
No, this is a horror show. You can't have nice. Here's horror by Chris Salzman. The monsters are nice pill bugs. The stowaway's just hungry, and the pirates just want to get some data off the guy's computer, and then we can all go home and have hot chocolate. There we go.
Honestly, right now, that's the level of horror I need in my life. Okay, they're not going to be spiders just because I can't. Yeah.
So I think you can make the aliens creepy. You can make them creepy. They should be a little unsettling, right? Like, and I mean, so I do like the idea that light holds them in place or freezes them a little bit, but it also makes your problem a little worse by they start to grow or nest or something like that.
Yeah. You can also make them like attracted to certain kinds of metal. In particular, so they'll eat like whatever, but if there's gold around, like that's what they really want. Like there's a bunch of like we've mentioned water in a number of places, right? Like I'm attracted to that idea of like maybe they really want water in some way, because they probably don't have a bunch of it in the mine. Like something about water is like a delicacy, so they start eating through the aquarium.
Maybe they start growing when they get access to water, and that they start to evolve into like their second stage.
There's only a couple of them, but then they multiply when they drink water. Let's just do it.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess like what are So there's a couple options for the PCs to handle these things. I guess, is there a scenario that anyone can think of in which they destroy all the aliens and like kind of undo everything and finish up decorating for the big party? Like,
I hadn't occurred to me that could happen even remotely until you just said it.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe at the beginning of this that might have been possible, but I think too much chaos has been unleashed. I don't think that the PCs can fix it unless you want to. Unless that
Besides,
bothers you and
Bitcoin
you want
has
to make.
crashed. They're not getting paid for this no matter what.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean the scenario we've described is like the success is going to be survival, not doing their mission.
Though you
right?
could hand out XP for every piece
for every
of...
balloon they got up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. One reason I asked is because, right, so like at the beginning of this, it's like fun to send an interior decorator to space to go on a space station. Does it still make sense to have that be the angle on it, or does it make sense for the PCs to be something else, right? Like, and I guess I'm saying that because I don't want to like be like, hey, come play this one shot because you'll get to be a space decorator, right? And then it's like, well, actually, no, you're playing Alien.
Well, I mean, I think you can, in my opinion, you can be honest about the setup and the context. Like, you guys are here to decorate this, and you don't have to tell them what it is, but things go horribly awry, and doesn't that sound fun?
Yeah. I just say like this is a game of sci-fi horror, and this is the setup. It's. I mean, you wouldn't want to blindside people with that before they. Yeah, you would want to get consent for that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, of course.
Especially any spiders.
That get bigger when you breathe on them.
I just feel like that can't.
Your
be true.
screams literally make them larger, Chris.
Yeah, I don't. Like Kyle, I don't think I believe you. I like and for the rest of my life, I'm going to be resisting the urge to Google to find out if it's true.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't worry, it'll be on the Discord right after this call.
Good. I mean, if you breathe, like, can you make them like blow up if you breathe on them extra hard?
Will they float away if you keep breathing on them?
Yeah, I need to know
It's just a 6-hour drive away for you, Chris, to find out.
Yeah. Oh, good.
And if they're already in your house, it's only just like a minute drilling down into the basement.
Oh no. Okay.
All right, guys.
That says about where we are, guys.
Yeah. So, hey, guys, I want us to try and rally for kind of like a final burst of energy here. So let's give ourselves 10 or 15 minutes to try and wrap this up. Like, It's feeling a little loosey-goosey right now. So what can we do to kind of just polish this a little bit?
Yeah, I think we should restate it, right? Like from bottom to top. My energy is flagging, I guess. Who feels like they could kind of restate the whole premise from start to finish? Anybody?
Give it a shot.
John, yeah, why don't you go for it?
Go for it.
Okay. So our ragtag crew of designers and painters and general help have been sent to the space station on an automated shuttle to get it ready for a party. Everybody had to miss something fun that they were going to do, whether it be a party or a birthday for somebody, and it's kind of a pain they have to do it during this magnetic storm. The Bitcoin billionaire is a jerk and doesn't trust them, so he's set their ship to be automated to stay at the location for however long you want it to be, 48 hours, to do their work, and then it will bring them home. When they get there, the first thing they have to do is get the power on, and so that they can start to do their work. As they go through the station to do this, they discover something is awry. There's maybe smashed robots, or they discover this stowaway in the kitchen, or other things happen that make them suspicious that everything is not as it appears to be. Let me step back. I forgot about the pirate ship. So we kind of need to decide where the pirate ship comes in. because there's a
No,
conflict.
I think your outline still holds.
Yeah.
They will be clued in that everything is not as it should be almost immediately. They still have to turn on the power regardless of their feelings.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then things escalate from there. They run into the pirates, and we get into the timeline you discussed. They run into the pirates. They're maybe intimidated by them, or they're hiding from them. And then the pirates unleash something that they can't handle. And the situation becomes dire as they learn that parts of the station are starting to lose compression and that the whole station will lose compression. They can't make their ship go, so they've got to try to get off on the pirate ship or stop these creatures before it's too late.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. That sounds really good, stated clearly like that.
Yeah.
And maybe if they crank up the heat real high, they can kill them all. Or something like that, like, and that would be another thing. It's just like, if we get back to that power station and like, mess with the, put the environment controls into overdrive, we can save the station, but we will have to get into someone's ship to survive that.
Yeah.
I think so I think I'm okay with like the push is you have to get on a ship. Right, in some way. So unless they come up with something absolutely clever that somehow kills all the bugs, otherwise, like it's really like you have to do a thing and get on that ship and wait it out, or get on that ship to leave. Like those are your pretty much your only options, where it's a total party kill.
Right.
Okay, so a question that immediately comes to mind is this billionaire person. Like, I think we need like a name for them. Because that's going to be my first question if I was a player in this game, is like, tell me more about this guy. Like, why, like, other than the fact that he's paying me, like, does he not have a name?
His name is Dollar Monkey.
Yeah.
Dollar Monkey.
His name can't be Elon Bezos, is that not?
No, he cannot.
No, he should have like a crypto bro name. Like he's like, this whole thing is like, he is his brand. Like everyone knows him by his stupid Twitter screen name he made when he was 12.
Yeah.
Like the crypto bro.
What if he's given himself like an unpronounceable name like Grimes and Elon Musk's baby or whatever? Isn't that like a string of
probably
characters?
Like call himself hashtag or alpha or something like hashtag alpha.
Yes.
Sigma. He's the Sigma daddy.
No. Let's go with hashtag alpha. There's a point at which like I won't be able to say any of this out loud without just sneering. So I need it to be like, we need to take like 3 steps away from real life.
That's up to you, man.
So something to back up a little bit, like Chris, since you'll be GMing, I feel like it's going to be hard to predict how the PCs will try to deal with the bugs. Like my inclination is to say, whatever the idea they come up with, let it either don't let it work until they're on idea number 2 or number 3, or let it work but just come up with a way that whatever their plan is, it interferes with their goal of like staying alive.
I think
they
so.
could flood the
I
entire
agree.
station with heat or water, but how do they survive that themselves?
Yeah, I think that's good. Just kind of leave it open a little bit. I think
if it's
any answer is
heat,
going to be
you get
correct.
the whole like improvised like flamethrower stuff. Like somebody has some like hairspray and a lighter. There's a place to go with that, and it gets very like primal at that point. If like fire will keep us safe from bugs.
Yes.
But I like Andy's idea of not having a fixed idea of what it is, but allowing it to be something that they propose.
Yeah,
like in a Star Trek episode, like they come up with one technobabble solution and it doesn't work, and then and then a character comes up with another idea and then it's tense, but that idea does work. Doesn't even matter what the idea was. It was just about the pacing of
the tachyon emitter didn't work until they reversed the polarity.
Right, exactly.
And that won't work until Act 3. But if you're using the Caltrop core, you can just let the dice decide. So the first person to roll a 4 on their idea figures out the weakness.
Yeah.
I kind of
I
love
like
that. I
that.
got to read these rules.
It'll
I
take
mean,
you
that's
7
it.
seconds.
Yeah. It's perfect. I like it. I think like we're probably gonna end up doing character sheets sort of off air for this
Yeah.
too. So we'll publish them somewhere so people can see them. But like I have some ideas with giving people skills and letting them maybe choose a special skill that they can decide, like whatever that is. Yeah, and then that might be a way for them to come up with like more clever solutions to stuff. But I was just thinking, right, if they arrive at the station and it's cold, they turn on the power and it gets like to room temperature, and then towards the end they have to use heat to solve their problem. Like there's a nice arc there
Yes.
as well too.
And
Especially
it
if like it's
transforms the
reinforced.
ice, and it
Yeah.
you can fill the place with steam from the evaporating ice, and it's like it really gets like very visceral.
Yeah, there's just like very environmental too. Yeah. Okay. Other like poke holes in this. I guess like what else feels not thought through?
I think you just have to. My advice is to write down a list of complications. So it's not that you're not going to let them come up with ideas and solutions that will save the station, but once they come up with that idea, have your list of complications like the stowaway or the animals escaping from the zoo or whatever that complicate that compound and complicate that plan.
Yeah.
So the plan they come up with to save themselves does not have to be difficult, but just have a few of these based on how much time you have. Add a number of complications equivalent to the available time for the one shot, if that makes any sense. And that's why listing out all the complications, but not committing to them at certain times will work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't waste. I think an advantage of this, it's a big environment. It's a big environment. It's a limited time. You don't need to. It doesn't really need to make total sense. So
Yeah.
if the timing doesn't make total sense on reflection or whatever, I don't think it matters too much. It would if this were like a mini campaign and you were going to spend 6 game sessions on this station, but it's a one shot.
And it's not really a dungeon crawl either. So the point is not for them to go room to room and get all the cool stuff. It is they have pretty immediate grokkable goals. So yeah, unless somebody says like, oh, is there a tool shed? I want a sledgehammer or I want a fire axe. Like that's the kind of stuff you might have to run on the fly. But I'm gonna work on a map to maybe flesh out some of the extra like stuff they could find and look for tools to help them out.
I also think something like this, a map, like it would be fun as a player to look at a map and see at least some of these cool locations and be like, oh, we got to go check this out. I think that's going to be at least some of it.
Yeah, keep in mind, it's not a secret tomb. They should know the layout roughly, right? Even if they don't know the specifics of what's in each place, it's somebody's house. They could have a plan of it,
Yeah, and they would probably have been there before too, right? So I think the only thing that would be a surprise is the explosion that opens up the mine, right?
Yeah.
Like otherwise, everything is very known.
Yeah, I think my blob in the bathtub has to go away though because it doesn't really fit with our new narrative, which is fine.
No, Frozen. I mean, you get really creepy stuff that happens to plumbing when it's abandoned, and and with all the stresses of outer space, I think like a weird, gross thing coming out of the bathtub. As long as it doesn't attack you, I think it's a really cool set piece, just like a really cool visual.
Yeah.
What if it's one of those bugs that's frozen in water in there? Nice. And it's like if they ask about it, like or they look it up like in a log somewhere, it's like, yeah, this happens in between seasons. You just got to clear it out. We don't know. It's only ever like 5 of them. It's not a big deal,
right?
Like that. So like everybody like knows that these things exist, but it's always like they're frozen in something.
Nice. Yeah, I think that works. So maybe a kind of closing question from the GM prep perspective. What off the air here does the GM really need to have? So we're going to have some pre-gen characters for the players. I think we should have some pre-gen NPCs to like cover the main pirate crew, and then maybe the handful of NPCs we've done. We're looking at a pretty lightweight system, I think Chris said, but whatever kind of quote stat block we need for the creatures to just remind the GM what their parameters are.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I would have this is a Powered by the Apocalypse thing, but I always like to have a list of, first of all, what are the motivations? Like, write down the motivations for everyone, including the creatures. Yep. And it doesn't have to be complicated, but the creatures are motivated to eat metal or get water, or they're a swarm. They want to dominate the environment. Whatever that motivation is, I would write that down.
Yep, good idea.
And then some impressions, right? So rather than rely on doing this off the cuff, if they're coming into a cold station, you step into the station and immediately you can see your breath. It's colder than you thought it would be. Just a list of sort of, it's darker than you thought it would be, or this, or there's a destroyed robot in the corner. Why is that? You don't even have to know why it is. Just impressions that set the tone that you want, that you can pull out at the appropriate time.
Yeah, to spin off on that, I don't want to add a lot of like kind of off-screen work for the GM, because the idea here is to mostly have this ready to run here. But when I have run Fate, I try to put a couple of descriptors for each location, and that just reminds me to emphasize those things, and it gives the PCs something to like hook into. So whatever, this room is lots of puddles of water on the floor, and big pipes crisscrossing the ceiling, and temperature is too hot. That's enough. That's enough to run on.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think the first thing when I'm doing the actual prep for this, I'm probably going to end up cutting a bunch of rooms. Right? It's because I think the reality is, right, what we've defined, I think happens in a 5-room dungeon sort of setup. Yeah. Right, so maybe you allude to there's a game room, you allude to the fact there's a game room and there's a dining hall and these things, but it's you would never go in those, right? In this setup. So I mean, maybe they exist and you can go to them if you need a specific thing, but for the most part, you're mostly going to be focused on living room, kitchen, dock, a couple of topiary maze, a couple of those things.
Maybe you need to flee into a room and it's surprising, and that adds a little color. But you don't need to use all the ideas we gave you, I don't think.
Yeah, I wouldn't be afraid though to leave those rooms out there, even if it's unlikely the PCs go in there, just simply because you never know what turns the adventure is going to take. And I don't know. And the more locations you have, also the more places you have to have the bugs destroy before it gets to the
that's true too. Yeah, if you need,
even if they're just red shirt rooms, right? Yeah.
Okay. Well, is there anything else we need to cover here, or shall we wrap up? Because we're coming up on the 2-hour mark here.
I feel like
we're good. I mean, just so people know, the reality of GM prep is you get all these good ideas. So I'll probably spend another 2 hours ish, if not more, putting stuff together and stuff, because I don't want to hide that part of the process from people. It's part of this, because part of the reason we're doing this is to show the process, this is how you kind of come up with ideas, this is how you get them down to a core of what you want to do, and this is how you run it and all that. So there's going to be some off-screen prep. We'll try to share that in good places. Kyle's going to most likely draw a map of this, and it sounds like he might even record it and stuff, right? So he can talk about that if he wants to. But right, so there's going to be all these other things that happen after the big brainstorming session to bring it together, and then you put it at the table, and then it's just going to be really fun to see how broken it gets right when players actually start to interact with it. And all your great ideas sort of go out the window a little bit, although we'll have the alien swarm
into space.
There will be pirates. Yes.
And in space, nobody can hear your good idea die.
Yeah.
I think we should plan on in a future episode, Chris. I agree with you. Let's not skip over that that hard work the GM has to do to take all the cool ideas, which are the easy part of this, really, and kind of compress them into something that you can actually run. I would love to have a follow-up discussion after this is done about how did you take these 12 cool rooms and 12 cool encounters and 15 crazy ideas and turn them into a one shot. So let's have that conversation after you're done.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome.
This is where if I had a Twitch stream or something, I would just be hey, well, join me on this Saturday where I spend 8 hours banging my head against the wall. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey guys, this
okay,
has been
cool.
super
Let's wrap it
fun.
up.
Thank you, Kyle, and thank you, John, for joining me and Chris for this. And yeah, the next episode will be the playing of this by people who hopefully will be going in blind. So we'll
Yes.
forbid them from listening to this planning episode. And yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
And then really quickly, my hope is that I'll be able to put together a video episode of my show Map Crow on YouTube, where I'm kind of putting, and hopefully I can get at least a rough draft of this to Chris so he can use it while he's gaming. And then kind of like a more polished version will probably be finished, sometime later this year. So that will be an exciting thing to kind of like edit this down and put this together.
Yeah, that's just amazing. Yeah. So thank you, Kyle, for bringing your artistic talent to this process. So, all right, Chris, you want to sign us off?
Oh yeah, I should sign us off. Yeah, I'm just gonna say thank you from all of us for listening to this. If you made it this far, you are a super fan, and you get all the gamer points, I guess, for it. But yeah, so I'm gonna use my signature sign off here. Remember, if your GMs are having fun, you're a great GM.